Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Stay that way because I like it like that.
LARRY Yates as is show. We're back in the house. Welcome back, everybody. Some of you just that listened to this my new opening song here. That was a song that I wrote and produced. Wow, I won't date myself, but that was back in the 90s and stuff. So when I was using the California Love song on the show to start out, the Facebook was kicking it back and wouldn't let us upload it because of the publishing on the song. And then I talked to my team, and then we realized, wait a minute, I produced this song, Stay That Way, long before California Love came out. And so some of them accused Dre and all these guys of biting off my song. I didn't say that, Dre. I said you was accused of it. But anyway, that was my song, and thank you all for coming back here. Hey, we're going to, we know how quick the hour go by, and let me just say a few things, a little bit of politics. I didn't see Dr. Oz with Donald Trump. I just refuse to look at it as much as I need to follow through with all of the news to be able to talk about current events and the whole bit, and I just can't do it. And I find it very fascinating that right during this election, that Colin Powell emails happened to come out, and what he's saying about both Hillary and Donald Trump, and there's more to come, as they say. The rocks are continuing to slide, and wonder who else email is going to come out during this election and who's behind it. Well, I'm glad Hillary is better. She's my candidate for this election cycle. And to my Republican friends, I have very conservative ways, just like a lot of us do. And I don't mean to be so hard on the Republican Party. No, I take that back. I am hard on the Republican Party because this Donald Trump and the Republican Party as it is, this is not Republicans. I don't know what you want to call this, but this is not a Republican Party. This is an absolute mess. And to jump down Hillary's throat for calling it like it is, it really just makes no sense when Donald Trump can get by with basically anything that comes out of his mouth. So, but anyway, I wanted to say that I'm glad Hillary's back up on the scene again. Let's let the chips fall where they may, and everybody get out and vote. Look, county, city, town, state, get out and vote because we need you, we need you, we need you. And if you don't think your vote count, just think about this. Why would they try to stop it if it had no value to it? Anyway, so we're going to move forward. We're following through with the young ladies that was here last week. And thank you guys. So many asked for these young ladies to come back. And so Carolyn is going to introduce them. But once again, Carolyn, thank you for putting the show together. Thank you for all the work you've done. And I want you to introduce the topic of today. And because I would mess up these young ladies' names, And Jarvis, are we going up on Facebook now? Okay, I just wanted to make sure because before I say this, okay, Grenada, because I get emails. I got a couple emails from my hometown, so you never give us a shout out. Notice I've started to say Grenada, Mississippi. That's the country I'm from. Anyway, Carolyn, I had to throw that in. Take over there.
Well, thank you for having us back again today. We had a phenomenal program last week on the LARRY Yates As Is show. And we sandwiched in between today's show a program at Agape on Muslim Women Speak. And it was very well attended, very well received. We had anywhere from 60 to 70 people who were in and out of the room, and they stayed totally fascinated.
Yay, give us some hand applause here, Jarvis. You know?
It was an excellent program. And what we're going to do today is a continuation, because so much was shared, so much was brought up. And I would like to introduce two extraordinary women. To my right is Soraya Deen, who's the founder of the Muslim Women Speakers Movement.
Welcome back, Soraya.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, and as we said last week, Soraya is an attorney, an inspirational speaker, and the author of a very wonderful book, Peace Matters, Raising Peace-Conscious Children. We also have the lovely Philippa Sklaar, who is an author, speaker, abuse survivor, and an advocate. She was born in the lovely country of South Africa during apartheid, which made it not so lovely during that time. And she was introduced to fighting injustice through her father, who was the mayor of Johannesburg. And she and her family and her very powerful mother fought to eliminate racism. So welcome, Philippa.
Thank you so very much.
Yes. So we're going to start today with a conversation which is a continuation about some of the things that came up during the last discussion with you, Larry. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to move into some interesting and unique questions.
Things that you gained from speaking to the group on this journey of yours in dealing with Muslim, Islam, and peace.
Okay. So first, let me reiterate my thank you, because I believe we can't get to know somebody in one day, nor can we transform ourselves in one day, and nor can we do anything meaningful in one day. It takes time. So first, at the onset, I must say thank you, Larry, and thank you, Reverend Caroline, for having us.
You're so welcome, yes.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So why did I start this movement? I have to go back there.
Please.
Because it became very important. Muslims were left out of the table, at the table. We were never heard. And again, some of us never showed up. The Dalai Lama, I think, who said, if non-violence is to prevail, women must lead the way.
I can go with that.
You can go with that, right? So as a mother, it became really important for me that we make our voices heard. And that was the journey that I started. And what I am seeking and what I'm getting is that we have wonderful people in this country. Mm-hmm. People who are loving, who are giving, who are generous. I mean, people who want to help one another. Mm-hmm. It is the politics. And that's why I say peacemaking is people's business, not politics. So I see and I meet people who are open and who want to hear our stories. Because finally, every enemy is somebody you don't know. So I'm meeting lots of great people. I am building community. I'm building solidarity. And there's a level of energy when we come together.
Tell us an example of one thing that ignited this fire in you. I mean, I'm sure there's many once we go back and at the beginning of our personal journeys in life. It's all but to go into this journey now, to step into the ring and actually get in and be a part of the fight and not sit on the sideline and complain. What was that button, that one thing that pushed you into this?
For me, it was a deep moment where my son was bullied. He was told that
your son was what now?
Bullied.
Your son was bullied?
Bullied, yes.
Okay.
And he was told that he was a terrorist. And I just realized that words have power. And it's not about like even I think it was President Kennedy who said, don't ask what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. For me, it was such a moment because here I am in America, loving this country, loving her people. And I thought, I'm not going to let some fringe people in the fringe do this to us.
And because we have extremes on
Yes.
all sides,
Yes.
you know, both Islam, Christianity, Judaism. We have our extremes on both sides, Democrat, Republicans, and the whole bit. And quite often we do have to stand up and identify ourselves of where are we in this battle. And it is a battle. I mean, to me it's a battle. Some people may want to use other guru words for it, but it's a battle. Now, to my South African, I was telling, I told her that she's born in South Africa, and I'm African American. That makes her, and she's an American now, so that makes her my African American sister. Yeah. From the same mother. I mean, Mother Africa. You know. So, how have you been?
Very good.
If you notice, I moved over calling your name because I didn't want to butcher it up. So help me with, forgive me, but help me with your name
Okay,
again.
think of Philip and just add an A. Philippa.
Philippa.
There you go.
Well,
Simple.
you're the prettiest Philip I've met. Most of the Philips I meet have a mustache, but anyway. So tell us a little bit. I remember the last show, and thank you guys so much for coming back. The last show you reminded us that you were you showed us that you were a survival of spousal abuse.
Yes.
And you said your mother was a go-getter in trying to bring about some form of peace at apartheid. So, what was that defining moment for you to get involved in this?
So I was involved with my parents when fighting elections from the time I really. So what we used to do in South Africa when we fought elections was that we actually walked the streets and knocked on doors. And what was so unbelievably sad for me and tragic was having our nannies looking after us, and they couldn't have their children with them while they were working for us.
Oh, wow.
They couldn't have their husbands, their boyfriends. That was a tragedy. And these babies, these gorgeous, I fell in love with black babies. I have to tell you, there's nothing cuter in the world than a black baby.
I fell in love with black babies too. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
And these babies would come and visit, and then they'd have to leave. And they'd have to be looked after by the grandparents or the extended family. And I couldn't understand, how do you not allow a baby to live with his mother? It just made no sense. You know, the police could raid your home whenever they wanted to, day or night. If they suspected that the people working for you had friends over or their husbands, they could knock on the door and arrest them whenever they felt like it.
Really?
And that was terrifying. My grandmother, who brought us up until I was 12, she spoke with a very heavy Yiddish accent. And I remember one night, my parents were out. She was babysitting my sister and I. And we were very young, and the police knocked on the door. And my Boba, who I called her, was speaking in this Yiddish accent, pretending that she was crying and telling these police that she was too afraid to open the door for them. And eventually she got them to go. But while she was having this conversation with them, my sister and I were standing there with our hands over our mouths to stop us from laughing. And as soon as the police left, we ran outside to tell the people who worked for us that they were safe. And it was that craziness, that insanity that I couldn't sit. That's why I still can't keep silent when I see injustice. And coming here to America, you know, and seeing this election cycle, it really felt like I was back in apartheid. When we look at, you know, that remark that Hillary Clinton made about the basket of deplorables, I actually think she was being kind.
I do too.
Yes, I don't know why she even apologized for it. For what? Her supporters of Trump are absolutely no different to the supporters of the Nationalist Party. They are as ignorant, as bigots, as much of bigots, bullies, as the as the
And
national
this firsthand suffered from it, and I continue to have to live in certain concerns with this type of mentality out here. And so, for the Republican Party or the news media to demand that she apologize
It's
for telling the
insane.
truth, that's insane.
Yeah.
David Dukes. I mean, come on.
I know.
You have a David Duke. You was about to say something.
Yeah, no, but that is so in line with a woman can't fall ill. She can't have pneumonia.
Oh,
we have,
yes,
we have
yes.
explained
Well, actually,
that.
the comment was so outrageous.
Yes.
Because what Trump said was she should stop running for presidency. It wasn't she should rest. She should may need time, to be out for a few weeks, but she should stop running for the presidency. Now, he did retract that like he does almost everything he says, but that was one of the first reactions.
My
yes.
10-year-old daughter will have consequences if she retracts everything
Yes.
she says. Think before you talk. It's something I have taught her.
And this is really a mob mentality that you have. You had it in apartheid, you had it in Nazi Germany, and you have it here. You have one lunatic saying something, and everybody bands around and nods their head.
And this is very true. This is very. Go ahead,
Well,
Carolyn.
I was going to say I really appreciate that perspective, Philippa, because there is a mob mentality that is bringing, I think, fear out. I believe that people are more afraid, if you were to take the pulse of this country, people are in fear. And they're in fear from the bigger situation. They're not sure what's going to happen. There have been bombings. There have been crazy things going on. But I think they're more in fear because they don't know what the candidate might do if elected. There have been moments I've gone to bed saying, it is possible that this candidate might get elected. And then what? But I recognize that I can't stay in fear, and I have to know that there's the one thing about this country is we have checks and balances. So the rhetoric that is brought out by the nominee does not really reflect the system and the process that this country has. So I can then stand in some level of not relaxation, but just knowing that all of what he says cannot be implemented because the presidency doesn't have the power to do all of those
what
things.
you're saying is absolutely correct, and I'll tell you where it was proved to be true. During apartheid, when apartheid it looked like it was going to end, there was a right-wing group of the Nationalist Party called the AWB, and these were exactly the same as the Tea Party. I mean, there's no difference. They look the same, they think the same, they dress the same. Okay. They had a uniform, they had a swastika on their armbands, and everybody was in fear that they would take over. And you know what happened in the end? They just disintegrated.
Yes.
There was nothing there. It was just hot air. It was nothing.
Yes.
And that gives me hope here with him.
And I hear what you guys are saying, and maybe you guys are my emotional check and balance here. I don't trust the checks and balance as much anymore because George Bush and Dick Cheney and those thugs stole an election. It was a bloodless coup. Right in front of the America, right in front of the world, and no one said anything, and they still will not call it a bloodless coup. They took the election.
I didn't say there weren't consequences.
No.
I just said that as a president, all of this.
No, I'm
things that are being
I'm
spoken
going to
about.
that. No,
Yes,
I'm just
okay.
saying my thoughts on that. And so when George Bush got in there, and all of a sudden, boop. Lo and behold, 9/11 happened. Oops! Wow! Here's a 747 making a U-turn over the state of Ohio, and NORAD, which is the military air force to guard our airspaces, was told to stand down. You couldn't do that with what's these new little things that is flying in the air.
The drones? The
You
drones,
couldn't do
yes.
that with a drone in that airspace. But they let it happen, and then we went in and attacked a country that did nothing to us. So where was the checks and balance on this? So then you look at anthrax was all over America. Everybody was scared. Now the rights that black people, and I say this as a black man, we fought and died to get these rights. But guess what? White America has just thrown them away. And they started out by saying, I have nothing to hide. Spy on me. This is America. Until we wake up and look, and this is my opinion, until we wake up and see the danger of where we are now, then we can't fix it. We can't stop it because we're putting too much trust over here. If this asshole get into the White House, guess what? He's going to potentially bring in 3 Supreme Court justices. 3. Now, we already have Citizens United, where they've just opened the door and said corporations are people too. They're already trying to stop voting rights. They're already trying to stop women, the freedom of choice for women. And that's what the Supreme Court would just I think it's 5-4 Republicans. So when you get 3 Republican Supreme Courts in there, Supreme Court justices in there, we have a problem in this country.
I think there's a collective consciousness here in America today where it's so easy to find fault and blame and shame the other. We are not taking a deeper look at ourselves.
Yes.
We are not holding ourselves accountable for what we are saying and doing. And this is very tragic.
So
Yes, and part of what I was bringing up really was a point of our own responsibility,
Yes.
our own because when you grovel in fear, you take no action. You just you sit back in fear and start feeling wounded. And so I'm saying, for a moment, I had a sense of woundedness that, what can I do? And I think a lot of the country is like, well, what can I do? I'll just lay over and let this whole thing happen. So mine is a call to action. Mine is a call to
you hear that?
responsibility.
Call to action. Do
Mine is a
something.
call to
That's why-
intelligence, a call to you taking responsibility, to you reading the ballots. In California and many other states, it's going to be a pretty long ballot. But vote. Go in there and
Yes.
vote. Do not be complacent. And this is the concern I have, is that there's fear and complacency with people saying, well, I don't like either of the candidates, so I'm not going to vote. I won't say the word because it'll be cut by the FCC.
Well, just
But
write
it's
it to me.
not
I'll say it for you.
appropriate. It is not appropriate to not vote. It is a responsibility and your priority to vote.
And I think we have this overarching sense that we have to kill to live, which we don't have to. We have solutions for the problems we have created, which we have not explored.
Exactly.
Well,
And-
I'm sorry, but for a second, it just had not see it my way, but understand and consider my perspective. Just like apartheid, today, when I step outside the door of this studio today, I could be shot and killed by a cop. You know what the police department going to do about it? Nothing. I can be murdered today, tonight, tomorrow morning, anytime I, as a black man, get in the car. I don't worry about a ticket. I don't worry about a stop sign. I have to worry about a bullet from somebody wearing 3 major things: a flag, American flag on their shoulder, a badge over their heart, and a gun on their hip. So so if I don't stay into reality, see, I have to stay here. I can't play around with the reality of what this country is going through. And when you hear an asshole like Donald Trump beefing it up, pumping it up, guess who's going to suffer? Black males, number one. Black community, number 2, Muslims, number 3. Now Muslims are moving to the top of the line, the boogeyman, the new boogeyman, and then poor people.
That's why the similarities to apartheid are so chilling, because they're all there. During apartheid, who was safe? Only if you had a white skin, you were safe.
Right.
Other than that, you weren't. That's why nobody can afford not to do anything. People saying that, you know, they don't want to get involved or they don't like Hillary. It's such a self-indulgent,
Yes.
I like that.
ridiculous
Self-indulgence.
Yes.
thing to say. Oh, I can't get involved. It's us. Get involved.
Yes.
This is where we all need to get involved. That's why Soraya and I have organised this March of Solidarity for the 30th of October to make sure that every single American needs to get out to vote, to make sure he never sees the inside of the White House.
You know, and I say, you know, I tell my Muslim friends when I get a chance to speak with Soraya, and so with the Muslims in America now, especially young Muslim men, this is not a if, this is what's happening. They're being demonized.
Just
And
last week, a
Let
woman
me
was burnt.
Hold that thought. But here again, well, you have Muslims, like the Nation of Islam. Most of the black, African American male Muslims in this country are Nation of Islam. So then you have the other section of Islam. Once the young Muslim men sit down and talk to us African American men, we can tell them how to handle this. We can tell them exactly what is going on, but they won't talk to us. Now, why? What can I do, or we do, that us African American men that understand what's going on talk to some of the Muslim men, the young men that is coming onto this boogeyman umbrella? How can we get together and talk?
That's a great offer. Yeah, we have to continue that
Give us some thought.
conversation.
Yeah, give us some thought.
I am going to. And that's why on the 29th, Compassionate California is organizing a conference where they're going to bring black youth and Muslims together with other faith communities. And we want to begin the conversation. We can't kind of seal it. Conversations are happening, but we need to escalate it. You're right,
Absolutely.
Larry. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for opening that door.
Yeah, we can do this. I remember when 9/11 happened, I went to the mosque in Culver City and offered to speak or talk with no other people in the community. So it's just about reaching out, and I love the work that you guys are doing. I don't mean to sound too hardcore here, but this is a very serious time, and there are people that's listening to the show that are still kind of in denial about what we are going through in this country. And I think that's one of the things that the Trump or the media has done so successfully is they have watered down the danger of this election. This is a very serious election.
It's very serious.
Very serious.
And I also want to do a shout out to any millennials who are watching the program. Please participate. Please participate, because I know that you might have been for Bernie. You might have gotten invigorated and excited about the election and the possibilities of you voting. And this might be your first time voting. But don't be discouraged because it's not your candidate. The way the system operates is there is a candidate that is chosen from the party. Please vote. Vote for someone that is going to make a difference in your life, that is looking at you and your life and your future and what can be done in community schools, in education, in helping you to minimize your debt, and in having your life be safe wherever you live. So make sure you're voting for a candidate. Don't get discouraged and plan to participate in the political system. And next time, maybe it'll be your candidate.
You know, I got a text message here. So I love this. So please send me the texts and emails and stuff. So I got on double glasses here. I got my cute glasses on. Then I'm put on my old man glasses. But the American public is ill-informed, and I think most of the people are lazy and don't want to be because it's easy, and they use fear to keep us in line.
It is easy to hate someone.
It is. Well, the hate, the hate, you can't stop people from hating you. You can't stop people from disliking you. I've told my son, I've told myself, and my brother and I grew up in the South, or my family, whatever. I don't mind if you don't like me. I don't mind if you hate me. But don't try to block my way of life and my growth. Then that's when it becomes a problem. The problem here is that there's a segment of white America that it doesn't matter whether it is you, well, not my African American sisters, unfortunately. Well, even to you to a point. There's a segment of white America that even if you are white from South Africa and you gain, they really truly feel you took it from them. There's a segment of white America that feel that if I gain, whether it's something as simple as a car, a house on the block, or thriving business, they truly have been taught and brainwashed and feel that we are taken from them. And that is sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. I love that because Martin Luther King said that was the most dangerous person. But that's what we are dealing with. And we can't close our eyes to that. You have people that right now today that would rather their house burn down than to let a black fireman put it out. That's real, you know?
But, you know, one of the things that shows up in other parts of the country, we're not getting it here so much, but we had fires here, but there's been flooding in Louisiana and other places. And you see a combination of people helping each other. And that's where I think this nation stands up at its highest when we have disasters. And Philippa mentioned this last week, is that when somebody is dealing with overflowing waters, they didn't care that it was an Asian young man who came to rescue this black woman and her dog. It didn't matter. She was almost dying, and she needed someone to help her. So there's a place when you're in trouble that you may give up that idea.
Absolutely.
Although in the South, in the deep South, people did die because they didn't want blood from a black person.
Yeah, now I'm sorry, but I want, and I appreciate you bringing that up because that's a very, very wonderful. That's another truth. That's the dichotomy of having an American spirit. But you were about to mention a young lady that was set afire. Give us your thought on that.
Yes. I think more
Thoughts
than
on that.
15 Muslims have died in this last year for being Muslim. Just recently in New York, a woman was walking with a hijab and her hijab was burnt down. So, as you said, Larry, things are happening. Nobody knows. And the media is having a field day just blaming and shaming the Muslims. So, what I say is propaganda, it was not even me, Hitler who said, propaganda is a weapon in the hands of an expert. And we are going through this phase in America today. So when people hear these terms, Muslims are terrorists, interrogate, ask further, why do you say that? The first responders were at 9/11 were Muslims. The majority of doctors, 60% of doctors in America are Arabs and Muslims.
Well, when you look at the people who are supporting him, they lack critical thinking. They just follow blindly. You know, Michelle Obama, I think, summed it up brilliantly with her speech when she went on to say, and I'm paraphrasing it, talking about bringing up your children. Do you want your children to grow up with these values of Trump as being a bully and a bigot? I mean, that says it all. Who wants to associate with a bully and a bigot? It just makes no sense.
You put it right there.
Bullies and bigots.
You just put it right out there. I like that. She don't bite her tongue. She just put it right out there. Well,
I don't watch news because of this fact, because it can really slow you down.
What kind of law you practice?
Oh, I used
What
to
field of
practice
law?
family law. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then I realized, we don't need any more lawyers. We need peacemakers.
Yes.
And as a peacemaker, what I realize is, my father would always say, if ever you have to look down to lift somebody up. But somehow, Mr. Trump does not. It makes it more challenging for me to do that. And I had to check myself every time,
Well, I sometimes thank him because
I was just going to get on
he
that.
has made the work that I do, the life I've dedicated myself to in peace and nonviolence, come to the forefront. because I can't sit back and listen to what he's doing. I can't play small anymore. I can't not come forward and bring programs forward and speak to people and speak to young people and say there is hope, there is opportunity beyond what he's talking about. Get educated so you don't sound as ignorant as he does. I will not accept who he is as a model for anything.
I think what's great about the Trump phenomenon is that, once again, I want to apologize. I love it. I'm an African American male. I've seen this my whole life. I've seen it my whole life. It's just that there was a certain segment of white America, Asian American, and even brothers and sisters from India or other countries thought it wasn't there.
Yes.
And we as black people, oh, no, it's not like you're saying. They said, well, shut up, Negro, pull yourself up by your bootstrap and shush your bitching and moaning. We cried these cries for almost 400 years now. And we tried to tell the American people for many years, my whole generation, the cops are dirty. But then you had, well, not all cops. Well, quite naturally, we're not talking about all cops. Why you have to qualify that? Why you got to jump up there and protect it? But if I go with a gang of guys and I shoot somebody unarmed, and then I don't have to have a gun, but guess what? We all going to be part of the problem here. But my point is, I remember real quickly, right here in America, in California, when the Koreans came into the community, we tried to make friends with the Koreans. Koreans don't have nothing to do with black people. Nothing. Take the money. When the Rodney King riot hit, it wasn't just about the policemen. It was about the abuse that the Koreans was doing in the African American community. They had shot and killed innocent girl for taking milk off the shelf. And all of this time, we have been trying to tell the Koreans that, wait a minute, you don't understand. America is not what you think. No, you go. But guess what? When the riots hit, the police department sit back and let the people burn the Koreans out. And then the Koreans learned the lesson and say, oh, we didn't know. Many of the Arabs, the 7-Elevens and all of this, we try to tell them that we was mistreated by them. I'm calling it, putting it where the ghosts would get it. Well, that's low to the ground. Many of the Arabs doing business in the black community wouldn't even give us our proper change. I go in and you get $20. If you spend $20, you get $5 worth of stuff. They give you $8 back, and you say, well, you didn't give me all my change. No, we call the police. Guess what? Police come, drag a black man out the store. If he's lucky, he get beat upside the head. And we try to tell them, say, no, you guys don't understand. Then 9/11 happened. Boom, now they come back and say, oh, but we understand now. So my point is, this has been there the whole while. Trump is just out here bubbling up, making the poison come to the surface to the point that it can't be denied. Okay, don't get me, I'm starting to talk here.
Well, I'm going to ask us to go to another portion, which is reflective of what we did on Sunday.
Okay.
And we had some wonderful questions that Soraya brought up that I think the listeners would really enjoy, listeners and watchers could really appreciate. So, Soraya, would you share some of those questions that we went around the table on?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, we can talk, but I feel like even as we talk, do we sense a physical reaction in every one of us?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And it's like Buddha would say, it's like drinking poison and waiting for somebody else to die. And as a peacemaker, I just try so hard not to go into that space where we need to build our movement
Yes.
of collective
Absolutely.
consciousness, where that is the...
Well, let me just explain a little bit here, is just to explain what the battle is. When we go into a movement of collective consciousness and we're going to make a change, we have to be real. We have to know what we're fighting. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you're going to get on the basketball, if you're going to get on the court, you got to know what game you're playing, whether it's basketball or football. You want to go in, you want to put on a football helmet and go in there and then you're going to play soccer. So That's all. That's what they did. But please,
You need to visit the challenge.
Oh, there's no
Yes.
question about it. Because, see, a lot of what we're saying is for the audience. So always remember, we're speaking to an audience. It's not necessarily
Yes,
speaking
the
to each
thousands
other.
of people, yes.
We got, 1,000 people. And because they will hit me, why didn't you ask that? Why did you ask that? But anyway, let's go to where Carolyn was saying with the...
Yeah, so I mean, people have questions, right? Islam is portrayed as a terrorist language, a religion. Muslims don't love America. So in that frame, we answer some questions that people generally ask. So I think that should be common to all faiths. For instance, one question that we try to address is, what is the biggest misconception about your faith?
Good question.
Yes.
So why don't you share how you answered that?
Oh, for me, I go direct to women's rights. There's this thing that they say that, oh my God, women are oppressed. And that's not true. That's not true. If you go back, I even say let's move forward. But if I'm to go back and trace the history of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, 1,500 years ago, married a woman and he worked for her.
Oh, really?
She was a businesswoman.
Can I ask you a question
Yes.
on the sense of that? When Donald Trump got into trouble with saying with this the Muslim young man that had died serving the country, and the wife didn't speak because we saw that she was all emotional, and the first thing they said was she wasn't allowed to speak. Did you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Would you talk a little bit on that, because I see that fitting there.
Right. And this lady, she responded. She said, I was in so much grief.
Right.
You were bringing this thing about
my
my son.
son.
Because she had told him, don't come back a hero. Stay with us. But the son said no. And you know the circumstances, right? He didn't have to die.
No, I don't know the
No,
circumstances. Please.
because he gave himself, because there was they were checking for bombs and ammunition, and he told his team, "You stay behind. I'll go and check." He didn't send somebody. He could have done that, and he went in, and then of course he stepped onto that bomb or whatever was there, and he died. So. Yeah, so the mother.
Thank you for speaking to that, and then please continue with your.
So I mean, he went. Trump went another low,
That was another
to
low.
insult these people who had lost their kids. I don't think I'll ever get over a lifetime if something were to happen to my son. And this lady did address that, and then there was a huge convention in Chicago about a few weeks ago, and she was one of the speakers. Yes.
I noticed the news media didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
what
I
are
did
some of the
see
other
her
questions?
speaking, and actually I answered that question also. I feel like the biggest misconception about Muslims is that they look a certain way, that they look a little brownish and have a certain kind of hair, and yet Muslims exist all over the world. There are Muslims in China, there are Muslims in Japan, there are
Yes.
Muslims in Australia. And so the very thought that you can identify a group of people and stop them from coming into your country is ridiculous.
For the sake of time, would you go through another question? I appreciate you saying that.
So another question we answer in the panel is, what is something unique your faith tradition brings to the world? Because people don't know, especially Islam is on trial every day, right?
Yes.
Yes. So what is something unique? I mean, there's this thing about charity. I just love that. The Prophet specifically said, we are responsible for 70 people in the community. Just imagine you wake up and you want to see whether Adam and Dave and Sarah ate, or were they clothed? I mean, if you can just ask that question every day.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
You gotta write this stuff down for me.
Yes.
Now, is there another one? A question?
Yeah, that one I need to get paid.
No problem. I'm gonna pay you all the attention you need.
So, then one other question is, let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future. John F. Kennedy. So what do you think is your responsibility to change this situation on the ground?
You have such a great spirit, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you bring to the show. Both of you, I'm just doing
Thank
one
you.
at a time. That way I don't have to try to pronounce her name. But I just thank you so much for the spirit that you bring to the show.
Thank you.
And those are some wonderful.
Can I say one thing
Yes,
quickly? When
please.
you were talking about how you thought that Muslims looked a certain way, you know, it reminds me of what they used to do during apartheid in order to identify if somebody was black or white. They would check their fingernails to see their cuticles, what color they were. And if it was pink, then they were considered white. Otherwise, they were black.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that not insane?
Yes.
I had never heard that one.
The
Did
class-
you guys hear
total
that? I mean, that's
classism.
pretty-
Yes.
Man has been so inhuman
It
to
has,
each other.
yes.
Well, it's Well, what's the difference? You know, you don't look. Let's see how you look, and then we're going to condemn you. What's the difference?
Yes.
Well, you know, I heard, you know, I think this was T.D. Jakes, so it's not something from me. Minister Bishop, is he a bishop or minister?
Yes, Bishop.
Bishop T.D. Jakes, he said in sometimes in trouble, you see people with it looks like it's 20-foot waves. I'm paraphrasing, coming off the ocean, and people are running away because of fear of the waves too high. But then you always see some guys with surfboards running to the waves, and I think that the guy in the surfboard in this metaphor. He understands the danger. He has practiced. He has studied it, but he is not in denial of it. But he learned how to surf it. And I think that lots of time, this is what we have to do is once we identify the problem, we have to identify it. You just blew me away with that cuticle thing.
I think I feel that we have to move to a new paradigm of how we look at
Yes.
this, because just look at the world. There's 15 to 20% of the people who are controlling everything, okay, from resources to wealth to how we should, we should behave, and here we are at the bottom, always giving it all to change things. I feel the new paradigm should be that we should really work with the people at the top and transform, maybe not the 20, but another 20 who may know the 20, because that makes our work easy. Because imagine because there's inherent goodness in everybody. Bad is learned, okay? And we have to work to touch that point in every one of us. And that is why I have organized, together with Gilbert Cedillo, a council member for District 1 and the Institute for Peace and Justice, we are having the first Women's Interfaith Leadership Conference at City Hall, at the Bradley Tower. Because I thought, let this be a new vision. Let us talk up to the people who can really make things happen for us. Because the grassroots movements are very tired. And I have put in 15 years of my life, and 15 years since 9/11, nothing has changed.
This is absolutely. I'm not going to answer this text message. People are starting to text. And were you about to say something to that?
No, it's a wonderful program. We're all going to be a part of it.
Oh, email.
Yes.
I mean, website.
Yes.
There's a Facebook page to register.
Oh, it's up on screen.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, and Philippa is going to talk about abuse, because lots of women are abused, and that's an issue we need to own so that we can bring our light to the world when we settle that down. I mean, she'll talk about it. Then Reverend Carolyn is talking about non-violence and movement building. I'm going to talk about find your heart before you share your voice.
You see, we especially myself, we men, we need women like you that come with that calmness and with that spirit and to slow us down and say, wait a minute, you guys have been looking at it from a man's perspective. That hasn't gotten us that far. Look what has gotten us, and coming from your perspective. I just feel so blessed to be here with such beauty, intelligence. Carolyn, I mean, what you've done and Philippa.
Philippa.
Okay,
You can strangle it with your tongue. It's fine.
Okay.
And I want to add that the teachings actually of Mandela and of King totally supported cooperation, that they understood you could not reach your goal without cooperating with all levels, because there's a contribution from everyone. Even if you don't seem like you have something in common, if you sit down at the table and have a conversation, that you will find a solution.
That was part of Mandela's magic. It was called Madiba
Absolutely,
magic,
yes.
because he addressed the solution rather than give credibility and power to the problem.
To the problem, yes.
Yeah, well,
I
we
always
men,
stand there,
we have to
yes.
stop walking around with a match looking for something to set a fire. I mean, that's we got that kind of personality in life. But I think Jarvis, what kind of time are we up on now? We're up on 2 minutes. Oh my goodness, this time has gone by so fast. Now help me with your name once again.
Soraya.
Soraya. Okay,
Like
Soraya.
psoriasis, Soraya.
Soraya.
Wow.
Soraya,
We'll
give
find
us
another one for
as
that,
we
yes.
as we close the show. Give us some words of wisdom. to
Thank
say.
you, Larry. First, incredible, heartfelt gratitude because you bring us and you want people not to fear us but hear us. So my message to the world is don't look at the world as it is. It will become what it is. Look at the world as it should be so that it can become what it could be. So we have work to do. Let's meet at the top.
My thing is that everybody has a mission in life and a function. We just have to know what it is. I learned what my function is in life through my experience with abuse, which I actually was a double whammy from experiencing abuse of apartheid and then intimate violence abuse. But my thing is that every single person has a function, and people think that it's arrogant to believe they can change the world. It's actually false modesty believing that they can't. So everybody needs to know what their function is and just get on board and do something in this election.
I love that. I love what both of you, what you guys have said. Okay, I'm just loving this. Go.
And I want to share something that we ended the program with on Sunday. I brought some of the young people up in front and asked what they were looking for in the world. And they gave me 4 amazing words. They said compassion, acceptance, friendship, and happiness. And these were youth who were anywhere from the age of 5 to 15. So to me, that's why I'm here, to make the world a place for our children.
This is going to be the first time I'm not going to give a closing statement, but just to add, do what I end with. Remember, a nation can rise no higher than it elevates its woman. Listen to these women. Listen to these ladies. God bless you all.
Back up,